May 16th, 2020. Big Cat Times article about how I'm doing post-Tiger King. Howie and Susan will probably edit this until it barely reflects my voice at all, so I am preserving my version here. Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. I still utter those words every day when I start a Big Cat briefing or a live broadcast. As always, I try to sound upbeat, and I am happy to have the opportunity to converse with those of you who already know and love Big Cat Rescue. The question I keep getting from so many of you who care is, but how are you doing? Being hated by everyone who is in the business of breeding, buying, selling, and pimping out big cat babies has been my experience for nearly a quarter of a century. As Big Cat Rescue became better known over the years, I would frequently have people run at me, yelling my name or the sanctuary's name, and in every case I would brace myself to try and determine in time whether they were friend or foe. The number of people who were threatening to kill me for speaking out against big cat abuse were only a dozen or so, which meant the odds were always good that the person flying in my direction was just an exuberant fan who wanted to talk cats. For the most part, it would become apparent quickly, even if it was some man running at me across a dark parking lot, that they were friendly based on what they said next. As threats against me increased over the years, I had to start taking security with me to events, such as the Florida Wildlife Commission hearings, because that's where most of the abusers would have a reason to show up and want my voice silenced. I also had to be more careful about responding to bobcat calls, where the caller was telling me to come to some deserted stretch of highway, or to come out in the middle of the night to rescue a bobcat or a Florida panther. It meant having to take others with me in most cases, and I've become expert at sussing out real calls from fake calls. Even though my tolerance for risk may seem to others as insanity, it was my normal, and I could function effectively. I could still pursue our mission, and I could make sure no wildcat would be left to die on the side of the road if I had any say in it. Then, on March 20, 2020, Tiger King Murder, Mayhem and Madness launched on Netflix, and by the time people had binged the first 3 episodes, they decided that I was the most hated woman on the planet. All anyone could think about was whether or not I killed Don Lewis. I didn't, but facts and evidence don't matter when the whole world is under lockdown looking for someone to blame. Since Joe Schreibvogel blamed me for everything that ever went wrong, and Tiger King enlisted no voices other than mine and Howie's to combat that assertion, I became the easiest person in the world to hate. All of the slow-motion filming of me and clever editing to make it appear I was some psycho made it even easier for people to do. I might have been okay with that because I don't derive my sense of self from what others think, but what has not been okay is how people have taken action on their sense of self-righteous indignation. For the first 6 weeks after Tiger King, my phone rang nonstop. Literally, every 2 to 5 minutes, around the clock, the phone I use most significantly for responding to calls for rescue of exotic cats was not usable. I recorded 2.5 hours of the most vile and threatening of the calls, and preserved them and the phone numbers in the event that I turn up dead or missing. This is spring, and the time when we get the most calls about bobcats and Florida panthers being injured. I had to listen to every single hateful call to determine if any of the callers were truly calling about cats in need. Hundreds of calls came in reporting injured cats, trying to lure me out into the darkness, but thankfully I have years of experience in telling real calls from pranks. It's the many times someone tried to call but left no message that keeps me up nights. Often people will give up when they are panicked over a dying cat and will try to call elsewhere, but no one else has the experience and resources we do to get those cats mended and back to where they belong. The only comfort I can take is that COVID-19 greatly reduced traffic during this same time, and hopefully we didn't miss helping a wild cat in need. As I write this, 8 weeks out from the launch of Tiger King, my phone still rings about 24 times a day, mostly with children who want to sing the TikTok song they memorized that claims I killed my husband and fed him to the tigers. Through the night, I still get 6 calls from people claiming they have a bobcat emergency, but they are laughing so hard they can't speak, or are so drunk it's hard to understand them. I've stopped letting the calls go to voicemail now, which means I have to endure the hatefulness at all times of the day, rather than just setting aside my mornings for the task of going through all of the hateful calls. Our front gate has been inundated with people who want to yell at me or our volunteers for volunteering. I still don't understand why people get angry that people are doing a good thing on their free time. We have all been threatened, chased, followed, and some have had things thrown at them. We've had our privacy invaded by drones and people climbing on top of their cars to try and see past our closed gates and walls. When I am out, I'm chased by people trying to get photos and videos for their social post to prove their loyalty to the mob who formed around hating a caricature of a woman named Carole Baskin. It causes me distress to know there are so many cruel people who actively seek ways to hurt someone they don't know because of what they saw on TV or heard their favorite social influencer say. While that is depressing, my favorite phrase has always been, "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger." So, if you are wondering how I'm doing, I'm stronger than ever and will not back down until we, you and me, bring about a world where all wildcats live free. If you're enjoying my diary, please like, share, and subscribe. You can find other ways to connect to me over at bigcatrescue.org/Carole.Baskin.